My name is Joe Simon, and for my paper for Sports Econ, I did it on the topic as to whether or not Louisville should host a major pro sports team or not. And for years now, there have been talks as to why many people think Louisville should host a professional team, in particular the NBA, because with the constantly growing popularity of the NBA and its superstars like Steph Curry and James Harden and LeBron James, you would think that there would be a tremendous economic impact in a good way for the city of Louisville. But my paper is going to discuss what it would take socially and economically to make that happen, as well as the potential effects of having or not having a major pro franchise in Louisville. And I pretty much start off by talking about the history of professional sports in Louisville, and sadly, it's a very short list. The last time that there was a professional team in Louisville, it was the Kentucky Colonels, who were in the American Basketball Association, but that ended in 1976 when their owner, John Y. Brown, sold them for $3 million. In the second part of my paper, I go in and talk about the support and opposition that people give for bringing a sports team in, as well as the positive and negative effects that a professional team would have on the city. Some of the positive effects, for one, when you host professional sporting events, thousands and thousands and thousands of people are coming into your city, and with them coming in, they are purchasing things. They're going out to restaurants, hotels, bars, and shopping centers, and they're dispersing money all over the city. There's people everywhere. And on top of that, a new team would more than likely mean a new stadium or a new arena if you're talking about an MLS, an MLB, or an NFL team in Louisville. Now, when you build a new stadium or arena, there's going to be people that need to work there, and there's going to be people that need to build it. So there are going to be countless positions opening, new jobs that would be provided to the city. Now, on the flip side, the red flags that are raised by people that oppose bringing a professional sports team, one of them being the competition in the region. For example, the Cincinnati Bengals or the Indianapolis Colts of the NFL, the St. Louis Cardinals or the Cincinnati Reds of the MLB, or the Indiana Pacers in the NBA. There's already a lot of professional sports teams within a short drive of Louisville, so that is one of the biggest red flags that people say as to why or how we could compete with teams of that caliber. Another important red flag to be considered is the tax dollars that are going to be put in to bring a team in. They could be going towards things such as public safety or education or other big construction projects, and not towards a sports team. The third part of my paper goes into what it would take to obtaining a pro sports team here. First, it would take a lot of support on a regional level, not just on a local level in Louisville. By regional, I mean places like Eastern Kentucky, like Bowling Green and Lexington. Support from the Louisville area alone would not provide enough funding nor a large enough fan base to support a team of NBA, MLB, or MLS caliber. Now, I read an article on bizjournals.com that talked about Louisville's total personal income annually, and it averaged to be about $61 billion. Now, $26 billion of that goes directly towards funding athletics for the University of Louisville. So that leaves $35 billion to work with, which is not a lot. That leaves pretty much only funding for an MLS team. That's the only thing that we would be able to afford. Because, for example, an MLB team costs over $100 billion to start up. Now, secondly, bringing in a new team would take the building of a new arena or a new stadium. People say that we could use Louisville Slugger Field, but there's no way Louisville Slugger Field could host an MLS or an MLB team. An NBA team could possibly share the KFC Yum Center that we already have downtown. They could share with the University of Louisville's basketball program. You have to consider the fact that there's going to be non-sporting events as well that bring in revenue, such as concerts and festivals. But this obviously would take some time to plan out all of the building of the new stadiums, where it would go, and how it would be fun. I mean, it's tremendously expensive. In the last part of my paper, I talk about the impact of large and small schools, the impact that bringing a new team would have on these schools such as Bellarmine or the University of Louisville. Now, obviously, introducing a new major team to the city of Louisville would provide a lot of excitement, and a lot of people would turn their attention towards that. You would think they would start buying their merchandise, they would start buying season tickets for them, and that would take a lot away from what we have already, like the University of Louisville's basketball team. People might focus less on that and tend to spend their money on these professional tickets instead of buying season tickets for University of Louisville men's basketball. They'll go buy it for a professional NBA team. Well, the same could be said for soccer or baseball or football. It just depends on what would ever be decided. But on the other hand, you could say the opposite and say that bringing in a new sports team could boost the college athletics around here because people could come in and they could attend both. Like if they came in September or October and we had a professional baseball team, they could go to the professional baseball team's game and then they could go over and watch U of L's football team. So it could bring in revenue for both. It just depends. On top of that, you could also say that admissions for both colleges like Bellarmine or Louisville could be boosted by adding a professional sports team because families, thousands and thousands of families come in and they go to these games and they're in the city and they're around the city and they see these universities and they go on campus and they experience it in a way that they wouldn't be able to if these teams weren't here because they wouldn't be coming to town. For example, my best friend goes to IUPUI in Indianapolis, and he never thought about going there until after he drove through there after going to a Pacers game last year. So it's just stuff like that. And then I pretty much go into my conclusion, and I state pretty much what the facts have shown, and that it is extremely expensive, and that the city of Louisville cannot afford anything other than an MLS team, and even the chances of that happening are slim to none. So Louisville is just going to have to stick with what it's been accustomed to for the past half century. And that is my paper.